Welcome members and engage with tech market analysts Silicon Valley, Boston, New York, London, Edinburgh, and Bangalore. So this webinar on a smart contract is going to be aired in many meetup groups across the globe. And this is going to be one of the marketing-oriented webinar, which will introduce you about the emerging trends and particularly the blockchain and then blockchain-based smart contracts and other solution areas, and how the markets are emerging and how the solutions are getting designed using blockchain and various other emerging technologies. So hopefully in this webinar, you'll be getting a view of, what are the new opportunities which are coming to the market, and how as an entrepreneur or marketing professional or tech professional, how you should approach the market, what should be your go-to-market strategy, and what are the risks associated with some of these emerging technologies. Those things also we will discuss here. So in next 20 to 25 minutes, we will be walking you through our various, the presentation slides. And at the end of this presentation, you can have Q&A session, or in between also you can send your question in the chat window mentioned here. And during this presentation, you can keep your microphone and cam in mute state. The reason because we don't want any external noise to be picked up, while this presentation is going on. So once again, welcome back in this analyst presentation. I'm Sumant Parimal. I'm Chief Analyst of 5G Research at Grace, and also happen to be an ex-IDC analyst. So I shall be walking you through the smart contract market insights and prediction for 2019 in Onward's presentation. So we will move to the next slide here. So, before we go into the deeper aspects of the smart contracts, let me briefly introduce you about the smart contracts. Though many of you might be working on some of the smart contract projects, but still, because we are airing this webinar throughout the world, so just for the sake of benefit of the newcomers or new joiners or those who are new in this field, we are introducing the smart contracts again here. So smart contracts are nothing but code-based contract stored on a distributed ledger that execute autonomously. So now you have seen the legal contracts, the paper-based legal contracts. Generally, you sign even if you are leasing your apartment, and if you are leasing your car, or even if you are taking an insurance policy. So you are entering into a contract. Those are the paper-based contracts. So similarly, those paper-based contracts are now getting transformed into smart contracts. The smart codes are nothing but software-based contracts which are coded in a model of the software languages or programming languages. So many of the smart contracts are coded in the well-to-known the programming languages like JavaScript or C++. So in the subsequent slides, we will be touching all these issues, what kind of languages are getting used in smart contract programming. But here, for the definition's sake, you can imagine a smart contract is something which has been incorporated in a software or implemented through a software which is written in a code. So basically, the ambiguity of the handwritten contracts are going to be out of question here, because everything is going to be well coded, well structured, and written as a program. So in a digital program, like you write the C++ program or you like the Java program, so you can't leave ambiguity, otherwise your system will not give a desired output. So similarly, one of the benefits of a smart contract is that only it is so structurally coded like a object-oriented programming, that there won't be any scope of ambiguity. Of course, even in spite of or neatly coded or structurally coded program, you may land up in some kind of ambiguity, but At least I'm pretty sure this is going to be lesser than what we generally see in the present context, that is in the paper-based contract. What we see, a lot of ambiguity happens, then people go to the court or people go to the arbitrators. A lot of time gets wasted in interpreting contracts and laws again and again, and it turns out to be very costly because its execution, its implementations, and uh, uh, any dispute resolution across this lacks involvement of lawyers and other legal experts, which are very generally very costly. And even if it lands to the litigation, it consumes a lot of bandwidth and a lot of time. So keeping these constraints in mind, the smart contracts got evolved, and now it is going into the adoption stage. So as I mentioned, it contains embedded information on ownership of assets and parties involved, rights to access and update the distributed database where the assets are stored, access to internal and external trusted third-party data sources that triggers the execution of terms. So these thing I will further explain in our next slides, like how many parties are generally involved in a smart contract scenario, how the ecosystem looks like. So these all things are explained in next future slides. Now, similarly, multi-party signature secures access to the contract. Smart contracts need to have a defined start and end events built on an externally occurring events. And typically, if you see, there are various way of segmenting this smart contract, but one way here is of the categorization of smart contracts is a smart contract, code-based contracts, and a smart legal contracts. So like I was discussing earlier, right? Now with this basic introduction, now I can move to the next slide. Sorry, yeah, this is the next slide. Having introduced to you, the audience, the purpose of a smart contract, in this snapshot slide, you can see how it actually works. There are two parties which are going to enter into a contract, that is LC and Bob. So now how in physical contract, how this would have been happened, and when these contracts are manifested on blockchain, which are permission ledger and which are programmed through the smart codes, then it turns out the smart contracts. So definitely, I mean, smart contracts are not going to basically going to replace the existing the physical contract frameworks, but rather it is going to strengthen and or going to augment it with many smarter features, and which is getting authenticated or verified on blockchain-based networks. So basically, the blockchain, the power of blockchain-based network is going to give a new dimension or new capabilities to the traditional contracting frameworks. So if you see in a smart contracts how C and Bob are going to enter into a contract, if you see they are again entering into a contract for say suppose one is lending and other is borrowing, so they will enter into a contract. So a smart contract here will be a software program on the distributed ledger, that is blockchain, allowing an immutable, verified, and secured record of all contracts and transactions and term conditions to be recorded in that piece of code. So these codes are lower in operational overheads and lower in costs, leading to the economical financial products. Now, these codes are either under the custodians from bank, insurance, or any other platform providers, and these contracts can be revoked by regulators and auditors for monitoring purposes. But the thing is, the great advantage of a smart contract is it's going to be distributed on a ledger, that is blockchain. So it is immutable, and it can be verified with the multiple sources. So so no changes or no kind of uh, kind of any misappropriation can be done in the terms of contract or in terms of the what will be agreed between the two party can't be denied. So these are the advantages of smart contracts, that it is easily enforceable, it is easily executable, it is great in servicing or administrating. It's a cost saving. I mean, it does not involve too much of manual work, and a lot of contracts formation and contracts executions happen in auto mode, like robotics process automation you must have noticed in other sectors. So similarly here, the smart contracts are also getting executed autonomously. So that's the key advantage here. So going to the next slide. Look at the sorry, we moved one slide ahead. Look at the life cycle, typical life cycle of a smart contract. So what's happening here? We have seen that two people are entering into a contract. So these two parties are transacting party. It happens even in the traditional contract mode that you have two parties. Now they enter into a smart contract which records the term and condition of contract between these two parties on a distributed ledger, that is blockchain, shared between all participants and validated by validators. So these validators can be the other nodes on the blockchain, or these validation can be other impacted or concerned parties which are participating in the various transactions on a particular blockchain networks, or it can be government regulators and auditors also. It can be banks and insurance and capital markets also. So though a broader objective of a smart contract over the blockchain is to reduce the the mediation rules of banks and insurers and other middleman's layer or middle mediation sector layers. But some extent is because it is still in the transitional phase. It need to be interface with the banking system or insurance system or any other mediation system. Now, what's happened? That's the region you have Oracle services coming in place. This Oracle services is not typically what we deal with the technology vendor Oracle. This is different Oracle. So this Oracle means that this some third party is bringing some real life data across the various incidents and events happening in the ecosystem, and that data is used by various smart contract engines to validate whether a certain event has happened or not. So in next slide, we will explain further what actually the Oracle services means here. So basically it validates, if I'm saying my motorcycle or my bikes breakdowns in a rainy season, so and I should get a premium for that. I mean, I should get insurance payout for that breakdown because it broken in a rainy season, which ideally should not happen. So then this Oracle services provider will feed the realistic data from the various environment, whether the rain has happened or not on that day and that time, and if at all happened, what was the density of rain, so that entire claim process which kind of claimer is claiming with the insurance company through smart contracts get validated. Okay, yes, the rain has happened, and the rain was so dense and so huge that my bike got broke down. So this is how the validation happens in a smart contracts. You don't need a surveyor to go to the on-site and to validate whether a bike met with an accident or a car met with an accident, or say suppose if you are insuring your supply chain, if you have a cold supply chain and your food got wasted in the supply chain because the sudden temperature has risen due to the bad AC system. So it need you will realize that your food items got wasted in the supply chain, so you will rush for claiming your claims through your insurance provider. But at the same time, insurance provider may not be convincing with your claims, so they need the evidence. So in traditional contracting or insurance contracting cycle, the insurers will send some surveyor to actually assess the damage or actually see the site condition and to investigate how much damage has happened due to the non-function of a air conditioning system. But in smart contracts, what's happened that everything will be connected with each other. So IoT devices will be sending a signal in the system, in the blockchain-based system, that yes, the AC has failed at this time, and at the same time, the food was under the supply chain, and it was at this location, and it got spoiled due to the bad AC or non-functional air conditioning. So you are getting evidence online in real time, and that through trusted network of blockchain. It's not only one IoT which is transporting this information, but there will be many IoT sensors of different utilities or different network service provider who will be confirming this particular incident. So what I mean to say that blockchain based smart contracts are getting in real time, it is getting validated that a particular incident has happened, and based on that event occurrence, it will claim an insurance amount for your damage, whatever has happened to you. So this is how it goes, the Oracle services. Now, if you are coming to evaluation of contract, this also happens automatically. The contract waits for external trigger to evaluate predefined conditions and provide data for compliance and reporting. This what, to some extent, I mentioned you that how the contracts are getting evaluated in condition of some condition is meeting. So what's happened in contract? You write certain conditions. Say, suppose if my if during my transportation of food item, if refrigerators goes defective, then I should be compensated by the insurers by this much amount. So these are like predefined conditions, and now there will be continuous monitoring whether that predefined condition has been achieved or not during the process of contract enforcement, that is during the transportation of the food item. So I mentioned you that how the recent latest technology like IoT and other supply chain based tracking system can actually enforce or evaluate these incidents, whether they have actually happened or not. So in nutshell, these all are going to be now automated and interlinked. You don't need to have the manual processes for these kind of insurance claim process. Similarly, it can be banking. Similarly, it can be say the government based facilities and services like land record, land registry, so like challans and taxes. So you can replicate these kind of huge cases in many sectors and many verticals. So contract executes upon the self-execute upon fulfillment of condition via triggers. So triggers you have to monitor. So that's what trigger I told to you. And coming to the next slide, this a changing industry landscape. So after life cycle, let me walk you through what's changing in the industry actually, and what's driving this smart contract adoption. So if you see digital asset plus digital identity plus a smart contract, so these three elements together are making a smart economy to grow. A smart economy is nothing but what I explained, that everything is moving into automated mode, like the ecosystem of economy and the various players are becoming so smart that the manual interventions, the scope of manual interventions are going to the minimal. So every business rules and business processes are getting structured in an automated environment, and these processes become predictable, and these processes becomes reliable, and so what's happening that there are many physical assets which are getting digitized. So one way of digitization is already happening through digital twin, and the other way of digitization which blockchain has actually brought into picture is tokenization. So if you see the next point here, digitization plus tokenization of assets, that's happening in big way, and going to happen in a big way. Earlier, like many corporates were launching the digital transformation programs where they were kind of implementing digital twins, or they were kind of dematerializing some of their paper-based assets. Now, one more dimension has been added to the digital transformation. This is the tokenization. So every assets are now, be it the capital asset, like if you have a car or if you have a vehicle, every asset, or if you have a building, so every assets are now getting tokenized. That means you are creating millions and maybe thousands of tokens which represents your assets. So one token can be, say, 1% of your asset value. It all depends, like you issue a share for a company, similarly a token being issued for your assets. So tokenization with the digitization is giving push to the these kind of technology like smart contracts and the application of blockchain in the business processes. So another implication of the blockchain, I think in my previous webinars also I told that brokers and middlemen are getting removed through the blockchain technology and blockchain-based implementation. So in a smart contracts, in typical traditional contracts, like you lease a house, you will see that you are dealing with 2-3 agents and brokers who deals in the real estate leasing. And apart from that, you also deal with sometime you deal with the lawyers if you are going for a purchase of your house. Now in a smart contracts, you are going to get rid of all these middlemen and broker layer. Even you are going to get rid of the lawyers also. So that means these are going to streamline your processes. These are going to make your processes less costlier and less riskier, and these processes become very, very much agile and speedy. So that's what I'm mentioning, lower cost with higher information enforcement. So now once you migrate to the smart contract, your enforcement rate of contracts goes up. Right now you have to fight so much of a particular contract enforcement, and the legal systems are not that much dynamic or efficient to actually enforce any breach of contract in real time, and even in over the period of time, say like 1 year or 2 years. So once a breach contract has happened, then you generally feel the heat of that kind of breach of contract by losing your amount, or losing your time, or losing your resources. But in the smart contract, since everything is automated and everything is validated and everything is on blockchain, so the enforcement becomes easy, and the rate of enforcement goes up, and the rate of breach of contracts goes down. And you have agile plus automated opportunity here. So I mean, you don't need to always watch about the emerging opportunities in market. Rather, opportunities are getting tracked by your agent, autonomous agents. So those autonomous agents will track opportunity for you, and they will enter into a smart contract if the opportunities are turning as per your term and conditions. So these the software-based agents will negotiate term and conditions for a smart contract, and then they will also execute the smart contract based on those term and conditions. Now, so what is the next phase of growth is happening here? The next phase of growth. So earlier, like we were mostly learning about the blockchain application in say the cryptocurrency or Bitcoin based trading, or for the ICO based financing, or say for some kind of track and trace function in the supply chain. But now the blockchain has moved from these applications to the further enhanced application like a smart contract, distributed applications and decentralized autonomous organization, that is DAO. So now, so if you see the value chain, is the blockchain is the first, then followed by smart contracts, followed by DApps, followed by DAO. So I'll mention the DApps are the distributed application. Now what's going to happen, that your traditional centralized applications are going to replace by distributed applications on the blockchain nodes, distributed blockchain node, decentralized blockchain nodes. So if you are an application service provider and if you're an application developer, don't invest too much of money and time and resources on developing your application portfolios in the present architecture. Rather, you have to start planning how to migrate your present application architecture into decentralized application architecture, that is DApp architecture, which are blockchain-based application architecture. So these dApps are nothing but teeny application, but it is only that it is distributed across the various blockchain nodes. So now smart contracts, the group of smart contracts are getting incorporated in one dApp. So one dApp, one decentralized application can comprises of one smart contract, or you can have multiple smart contracts, a group of smart contracts for delivering one particular outcome. Similarly, many dApp and many smart contracts can make a decentralized autonomous organization. This is DAO. So DAO means an organization is what? If you see, if in organization is nothing but set of business processes which confirm about a transaction, through a set of business rules. So now what's happening, that these sets of business rules, or we sometimes we call it contract also, these are getting automated. So now through software only you are controlling your the organization transactions from in autonomous mode or in a remote, from the remote mode. So these progresses are now called as DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. Basically, you don't need to physically go in an organization to participate in its transactions and business proceedings. You can sit anywhere. You can have your own smart contracts, smart apps, the DApps, and you can have your own blockchain nodes to participate in any of the decentralized autonomous organization. So you can purchase a share of these organization, and you can vote from remotely through your smart contracts on blockchain-based applications. So what I mean to say, this entire portfolio is bringing a new landscape in industry as far as how the business are getting conducted, how the enterprises are getting controlled and functions and governed. If you see the right side of the screen, this is how the typical smart contract industry landscape has been indicated. So if you see, you have at inner of the core, you have the infrastructure which are required for providing the smart contract and blockchain. So these infrastructure providers are like Microsoft Azure blockchain as a service, and BigChain DB. BigChain DB combines the best of the distributed database such as scalability and queries, and blockchain technology such as immutability and decentralized control. IBM is also big into blockchain infrastructure. So they have Hyperlogic, and next slide we will discuss about Hyperlogic Fabric also, which have been initiated by IBM. So I mean, say the typical cloud vendors, like you deal with Azure cloud in Microsoft application for Microsoft based applications. So similarly in the blockchain also, the same vendors are also coming to provide the platform as a service for the basic infrastructure of blockchain and smart contracts. Above those infrastructure, you have the smart contract and blockchain capability providers. So these are nothing but platforms for the smart contracts. If you see, the most popular platform here is Ethereum. So you have Ethereum, you have Bitcoin, you have Brainboot, you have Hyperledger, you have multi-chain, you have Iris and Symbiont. So these are nothing but the the environment on the platform on environment on which the smart contracts and the blockchain apps like D apps can be hosted. So this is the two-layer architecture which this diagram discuss. So this will give you an idea about for hosting a smart contract program, how you need to proceed. So basically you need to have an infrastructure services which is provided by Microsoft Azure, BAS, and then above that you have a platform services like it is provided by Ethereum, and above that you can have a simple your code, your smart contract code which can run in the Ethereum and which can be deployed on one of these platforms, for working on the the blockchain network. No, we will go in further detail of these things in our next slide. So here I'm showing you how with the smart contract as a simple order to cash process can be transformed. So now many organizations have transformed digitally their order to cost process in supply chain. But right now we transform either with the BPM, the business process management, or through RPA, the robotics process automation. Now this transformation which is indicated here in this slide is basically done with the smart contracts. So smart contracts, with this introduction of smart contracts in order to cash process, how a typical business process looks like. So I mean, basically it is the same thing that supplier and buyer comes to towards an agreement to buy a product or buy a material. Now, but how the payments and the contracts and term conditions and POs, though were earlier those were manual based or based on certain centralized software. Now those stuffs are getting replaced by smart contracts, and the payments are also getting triggered by many data, many real time event data available on blockchain, and the payments and the deliveries are getting authenticated by many other real time data available in the blockchain network, and the payments are sometimes done through the digital currency, that is sometimes cryptocurrency wherever it is applicable, or it can be a token based payments also, depending on what all been authorized in that particular country or that particular location. So this is how a typical transactions happens in order to cash contract. Now going to the next slide. So here how the market is predicted. The smart contract market is predicted of value of 300 million USD by 2023, and it is growing at a CAGR of 32% per annum. And the growth areas are banking, insurance, real estate, supply chain, public sector, government, healthcare, automobile. So growth platforms which has seen the highest growth is Ethereum. So Ethereum, I mentioned, one of the highest growing platform for the smart contract deployment, and it has the most advanced for coding and processing of the smart contracts, accounts for the large share, followed by Bitcoin and NXT. Other platforms are EOS, Stellar, Cardano, and Neo, Hyperledger, Fabric, Redix, and Universa. And next slide, you will see what are the adoption trends here. So if you see smart contracts were coined long back by Nick Sajabo, but actually it got into execution in only 2009 when the blockchain concept was introduced. And in 2012-14, the basic smart contract capability added to Bitcoin, and for 14-15, a smart contract solution was introduced, and then 18 and 2019 is a year of takeoff. The regulations and laws to bring blockchain and smart contracts under purview of law are seen, and some pilots are happening, either it being the blockchain or being the smart contracts. But the smart contracts are going to move into mainstream by next year. So mainstream adoptions of smart contracts begins where the emergence of new products and services enabled by smart contracts are going to happen. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a technology professional, or if you are a marketer, be vigilant about introducing new products and services based on the blockchain and smart contracts capabilities. So in next slide, I'll show you what kind of new smart contract opportunities are coming into market. Emergence of a smart contract market opportunity. These are the coding languages. So I mentioned that smart codes are nothing but the teeny smart contracts are nothing with the teeny code of software codes which are programmed into certain languages. Some languages are as simple as like Java or C++, JavaScript or C++. However, there are some languages which you need to upgrade with your skills for the programming skill. These are Solidity. These are WASM, the Web Assembly Programming Language. These are Protos, based on Haskell, then Chain Code. So these are the emerging programming languages. You can have your own proprietary programming languages also if you are planning to launch something big in a smart contract area. Then similarly, the scope of a smart APIs are also emerging. These are solutions to interact with the smart contracts, website user interface and application programming interface APIs. Similarly, the market of smart templates and tools are emerging. The smart templates sold in marketplace to enable off the self structurally coded and by ready-made contract templates. So ready-made smart contract templates are getting available and getting sold by various service providers. Now, similarly, many product companies are coming with smart tools for smart contract developers and for authoring of the smart contract and editing of the smart contract and even the enforcement of the smart contract. So there is a huge potential if you start planning launching of some of the tools required for execution of smart contracts and as well as development and enforcement. So similarly, a full stack of a smart contract solution and services are getting sold in market. These are smart contract design and development solutions and services, smart contracts and token development services and solutions, smart contracts architecture development, like for the app you develop the architecture, you have enterprise architecture. Similarly, for the smart contracts and blockchain technology also, you need to have architecture development practice in your company. Similarly, smart contracts integration and deployment, like you do the software integration. Similarly, smart contracts integration and deployment services are in right, or smart contracts audit services. This is very important. So you can also start an audit service for the smart contracts. So basically, this will ensure that everything is working, all codes are working fine, all codes are factually programmed, and what has been the term condition has been agreed, being not changed. So entire audit services you can provide in market. Next slide. If you emergence of new business model, there's Oracle. I briefly discuss about there. These are nothing but third-party market utilities and trusted data feeds that send information into the smart contract, provide a bridge between digital and physical world, provide an indivisible services by connecting a smart contracts and distributed autonomous organization with the real world data and events. Emerging marketplace for Oracle are like one can create and list down one Oracle on these marketplaces. One of example I mentioned is Genesis, existing data provider to become Oracle. So now what's happening, the existing data providers who were offering data as a service, now they are going to offer Oracle as a services also. So a project, the typical project which I want to mention here is the Link. Link is creating world first truly decentralized Oracle network for the smart contract. It connects the back office SWIFT system. So a smart contract is also a project. It's connect the back office SWIFT system of banks to a smart contract. So this is a smart contract, a typical example of Oracle. So there is emerging market of ultimate oracles which resolves dispute between various Oracle outcomes. Coming to the next slide. Emergence of new business model. Again, you have a decentralized stock exchange. Now your smart share is going to come. The smart share is nothing but tokenization plus trading of private firm share on blockchain network. Tokenized securities. Now shares are going to be tokenized. So traded, and these tokenized securities are going to be traded or decentralized stock exchange, which is also called DEX. Wheels on a smart contract. So suppose if you want to enter into a smart contract market, so for you, one segment is to address the wheels and gifting side of the economy. So like a person die, before dying they declare a will. Now those kind of wills are going to be embedded into smart contracts. So there are many solutions which are emerging for especially handling for the will contracts. Similarly, smart donations are coming. So execution of donation via smart contracts. So gift coin for tracking donations. So earlier, like if you were donating to some charity, you were not sure where your money is going. So, but through a smart donation, you can track your donated money also, whether it is going used. Similarly, P2P lending and investing is emerging through the cheaper loans, because rapidly growing peer-to-peer lending market on blockchain. Ethical investments provided with many investment opportunity in growing economies, which can fetch higher return on capital investment, farm together. So you can jointly invest into a farming, on a land farming. So these are the new opportunity coming. However, with these opportunity, there are risks also on a smart contract, like security risk. And some of the previous year, this amount of money, like even up to last year, 200 million US dollar was lost due to security breach in various Ethereum smart contract. So there is a great potential of providing security services across the smart contracts. So if you are into information security services, then you can look around the offering your solution for a secure smart contract or a blockchain-based solutions. So with this, we are coming towards the end of the presentation, and you have 1 minute left for a Q&A. If you have any Q&A here, then you can ping me or ask me right now, or otherwise you can drop me a mail. Here is my email ID, sumant@starkcsi.com or sumant_parimal@inogress.com. So with this, we are coming towards the end of this presentation, and I thank you for your interest in participating in this webinar. And we look forward for giving and kind of initiating more and more webinar in this group. And do send me if you have any query, because this bridge is going to shut down since we are ending the meetup here. And we look forward for many new topic to discuss in this platform. And thanks again. Have a good day. Have a nice day.